Okay.
Hey guys, welcome to New Society, and I am your host, Carlo Jean-Michel. With me today is our special guest host, Jordan Peterson. And thank you for joining us once again. This is week 3. We're super excited to be here. Thank you so much for those of you that have tuned in since the beginning. Thank you to those of you that are new today, and let's jump right in. So, off camera, we were talking about what I perceive to be this fake women's empowerment movement that's taken place in the last couple of years, I feel like.
Yeah.
And the reason that I'm grimacing and I don't value it at all is because it implies that there haven't always been empowered women in positions of inspiration and like role models, etc. And the example that I use, and let me be very clear about this, just hear me out. One of my, those of you that know me, I love TV, I love film, and I'm very nostalgic and whatnot. And one of my favorite TV series of all time, like tied for my favorite, is Charmed. I know it's a TV show about witches and it's a TV show about etc., but I feel like they do a really good job taking, these otherworldly, mystical entities, mythos, mythology, and, condensing it into a weekly episode. And it's fun and it's tongue-in-cheek and they don't take themselves seriously in a lot of ways, and I always really enjoyed that. And, I've watched the series, like 7 times through.
Jesus.
I know. And, well, when
It
I...
must be good then. I have to peek that a little bit,
Well, hear me out. I should mention that when I first moved out of my parents' house, I didn't have cable for a couple of years. So I had a ton of DVDs. So I just watched DVDs, and so I basically rotated Charmed, Buffy, and the Harry Potter series. So each DVD would be in there for a month. So I'd watch The Sorcerer's Stone for a month, you know what I mean? But also I would have it on the background, you know what I mean? A lot of times not really paying attention, doing laundry, working out, cleaning the house, whatever. Excuse me. So, but the point is getting back to Charm specifically, is that it was a show about women who were these powerful women who managed and protected and were these role models. And I feel like women tuned in, people tuned in every week because it was a fun show. It was enjoyable. It was interesting. It made you think sometimes. But for the most part, these were empowering, strong, feminine, elegant, sophisticated women. Sometimes with potty mouths, which was my favorite part. But it was awesome. And then all of a sudden, there's this reboot that comes out a couple of years ago that's shoving it down your throats. These empowering women, and they're all about women, and they're all about women's empowerment. And it was
obnoxious.
It was so obnoxious. And I was like, where is this coming from? Did you tune into the original? And don't get me wrong, I watched a few episodes, and I was honestly, the whole promoting of the series left such a bad taste in my mouth that I kind of didn't really give it an honest shot. And somewhere down the line, I'm sure I will, but that's what did it for me. The couple of episodes that I watched, there were certain aspects of it that I was impressed with. There were a lot that I wasn't. And again, I didn't really give it an honest shot. There's actually one of the actresses I saw in another series. I thought she was amazing. I thought she blew me away at the depth of her character. And she was only in a couple of episodes, which I really enjoyed. But moving on, I'm not trying to badmouth any actor, any actress, whatnot. But again, there was that. I'm super into comics. Weird, I know. And what series? Batwoman came out last year or the year before, and same thing. It
Really?
was all about like women's empowerment.
I haven't seen that yet. I want to
strong women.
Who was the actress?
I have no idea.
Was it Halle Berry? When she was the Catwoman, it was good.
Those are very different characters.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. You don't know. Yeah, Halle Berry back in the day. Yeah, she did play Catwoman in an episode. She was great. I feel like all the Catwomen were great. Like
they just embody that female strength. They don't need to say it. If you have to say something, then it's not the truth, and you're like, wait a second. What am I being told and fed? Like,
and that's partially where I'm going with it ultimately. You know, on the one hand, that's exactly how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
If you are what you are, why are you trying to shove it down people's throats? It
maybe
speaks
it's
for
like
itself.
reverse. It's to disempower women.
You know what? I like
that's
that.
How I kind of feel at this point in this conversation.
That's the other half of it, of
propaganda.
Of ultimately where I'm going with this, which is that it is some bizarre propaganda. Again, to imply that women haven't always been strong. Women haven't always been empowered for what they've endured. I don't know why that word sounded so weird. Throughout history, mystifies me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pause for a very quick second and to give you a little background surrounding this episode specifically. This is the reshoot of the women's episode because the first one was, to me, very enlightening. You brought up some really great perspectives that I hadn't considered, that I pondered, and like in the moment it tripped me up in the sense that I knew exactly what I was gonna say. Just like every other episode, like I spent so much time like putting each episode together, and I was really proud of it, and I was ready to present it like I do all the other ones. But again, you kind of stalemated me in the sense that I was like, oh, that's a thought I hadn't considered. That's a perspective that I hadn't considered. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That's really interesting. And so after allowing all of that to ruminate for a bit, this is the, come full circle reshoot of it. And with that said, that's what I loved so much about a lot of what you mentioned that day was throughout history, going back to the supposed first sin and how the punishment for Eve eating the apple was implied to be, the pain of childbirth and the menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
That I am offended by hearing that. I am accosted, and if you don't know about this, I'm really glad, because I mean, a lot of people could argue, who am I to have a say in this at all? And I agree with you. I don't have a vagina. I'm not a woman. So, I mean, the end. With that said, I'm offended. I feel accosted. I feel attacked. That you would take something so natural, so pure, and
necessary.
Quite literally, like...
Yeah.
Yes, very necessary, but like so beautiful. Like anyone who has been in an operating room, minus like hospital staff, because you're used to it after a certain point. But anyone who's had the joy of witnessing a birth, I feel like it kind of goes without saying, like it's beautiful. You're moved to tears. You're speechless. You're in awe. You can't believe what you just witnessed, especially when you're a parent of this child, like being brought into the world. Like all of a sudden, you always hear this consistent, verbiage of it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. All of a sudden, like I never knew that I could care about someone who wasn't myself this much unconditionally. And in that moment, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt there's absolutely nothing that I wouldn't do for you. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So for you to take that and degrade it, and to manipulate it like that is awful. And my question is, what's the agenda there? Like, what was your end game?
It's a great question.
And as
who's kind of saying this, like the traditional church?
I mean, I'll be
because they've done a lot of things that were very suspect.
Lot of things that were very suspect.
Oh,
and I'll be honest. I only found out about the whole, like original sin and like original punishment last summer, and it blew me away. So yeah, I presume the Catholic Church, but I have no idea. I just heard this in conversation. I trust my source. You've heard this as well.
Yeah, I've heard it a lot.
And it mystifies me, and therein lies today's deformity: how society views women. I am very fascinated by unsung heroes of history. Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, Edgar Casey.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right? And
yeah, I see.
I just started a series called Da Vinci's Demons. I believe originally it premiered on Stars. I'm on episode 3, so I'm very, very new to the series. But the very first episode.
Was he schizo?
There's so much information. I have a very interesting opinion on schizophrenia. And
Let me hear it.
Sorry?
Let me hear it.
I mean, in a nutshell, we may edit this out, we may not, let's see. But I'm a huge believer in spirituality, of course. I'm a very big believer in energy. I'm a very big believer in, what we perceive as magic. My favorite definition of it is magic is just science that hasn't been understood yet. And I feel like being a species as young as we are, who the hell do we think we are to think that we know as much as we think or pretend that we do? So schizophrenia, I mean, homosexuality was in a lot of ways treated similarly to schizophrenia.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. And with that said, I believe that, idiot savants alone, you have autistic individuals who have a tendency to rock or sway or do something repetitive, which, your quote-unquote average human perceives as, in our culture at least, perceives as weird or bizarre, like strange behavior. And there's a lot of evidence to support that it's a calming, action for them. It soothes, it calms, it nurtures, it, whatnot. And where am I going with this? I personally believe that schizophrenia is simply, I believe in the supernatural. I believe that there are a lot of things, a lot of forces that are beyond our sight. You mentioned vibrating at a certain frequency, and when you vibrate at a high enough frequency, you're privy to a lot of things that people who vibrate at a lower frequency aren't privy to.
Yeah.
And I put schizophrenia in that exact same category. I talk about the veil a lot. As a Pisces, the symbol of two fish swimming away from but towards one another is said to symbolize duality in regards to reality. That was a lot of ality.
A lot of it.
They specifically meaning, the Pisces represents having one foot in the spirit realm and one foot in the physical realm. The physical realm is self-explanatory. And so I perceive the veil to be what separates those two. And I believe that schizophrenia is an absence of that veil. And science just hasn't figured that out yet.
Predisposed, yeah.
Right. I'm not saying it's a blanket statement. I am not a PhD. I do not have my doctorate.
I'd say it's a blanket statement. I like the blanket statement. Disprove me.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Well, getting back to the point, I'm the kind of person where I stand by my original question. Like, what's the end game there? Why would you ever put
within fads?
Within the original sin and the original punishment. What's the end game there?
I think that idea or the shadow that was cast by that perspective was a reflection of the men that perceived it.
I concur.
So they didn't want to see the beauty within it, they saw the negative. And so that was projected, and they were in the positions of power, at least within the rhetoric of controlling that narrative, and then that's how it kind of spread. That only spreads amongst the people that choose to see the world like that. Once you break past that and realize the beauty inside of it, then we have this discussion. So, it's
eloquently said. Bueno. You said something that I wanted to comment on. You mentioned the word earlier, disempowerment. You know, when I originally asked what's the end game, you were like, I believe it's disempowerment.
Of all, it's to create more chaos.
I concur. Ironically, I actually watched the movie Noah with Russell Crowe and Jennifer Connelly. So good. So good.
Yeah.
So good. I thought it'd be the whole time, but I actually decided to put my devices down and actually watch it as opposed to just create notes the entire time like I usually do. Yeah, I believe that the end game was I don't know if nefarious is the right word, but yeah, I believe that the intent was nefarious at best. Just intended to dismantle and disempower. And from my understanding, this is how I perceive women.
Oh God.
Women give birth.
Already.
What?
I have a headache already.
Because you know it's coming.
Women.
Women to me give birth. And I say to me because women give birth.
They gave birth to you.
The end. That's divine. That's beautiful. That's miraculous. You're tapped into another vibration. And the reason that I'm so ostracized, that I feel so accosted by the first sin and the first punishment is because how, like I said earlier, how dare you take something so natural, so necessary, so...
The only way of existence.
And attach, I mean, I don't know, blasphemy to it.
Ooh, shots fired, but truth. Like,
and I think it's because we can all agree with the perspective that men have been in power for a very long time. And hear me out when I say that. Men have been in power for a really long time, and they always say that history is recorded. I'm in opposition in my head because I want to say history is written by the survivors.
The victors.
The victors. Thank you.
Yeah.
History is written by the victors, and the victors have happened to be men for centuries, and the same men, as far as I'm concerned, that created that malarkey surrounding birth. And I have to say that there had to be I would be shocked if there wasn't an agenda involved. How about that? And from my perception, men were threatened. Men were threatened by the power of women.
Well, that's the origin of all of this, in my opinion.
Agreed.
They were threatened by women.
And
so you get to the question of, it doesn't even matter. That's just how it is.
I believe that nature, I mean, you look at nature, it always creates balance. Everything is balanced. Absolutely everything, to the point where I personally believe that the God/science argument is moot because you can't have one without the other, as far as I'm concerned.
Mic drop. That's what I always say. It's like, you can't even tell me that. Like, if you tell me that, you're disproving yourself.
So, I do believe that men are very powerful, very clearly very vital, very necessary beings that unfortunately have also been bastardized, have also been disempowered, have turned into really ideal worker bees. And unfortunately, I feel like somewhere along the way, like I say in the men's episode, unless you're Alexander the Great and you're conquering nations and or wrestling, alligators and lions and tigers and bears with your bare hands, you're not considered a man. And I think that criteria is something that your average man today can't live up to. And that's not a bad thing, because we don't live in that environment anymore.
We live in a worse environment now, though.
Well, let's get there. Let's walk before we run.
I'm already sprinting. Bro.
Intro, outro. Because, it's great if you have all this knowledge.
Today. Outro, then intro.
It's great that you have all this knowledge, but if people can understand what you're saying, you're just awkward and weird.
I'm always awkward and weird.
You are always awkward and weird,
but
it doesn't mean you don't know what you're talking about.
I'm so confused.
I got you. So, I believe that men were disempowered. I believe that they were, put in a position where they were required to fit a mold, and if they couldn't, it was beaten into them. And if it could, and if that couldn't happen, they were murdered. And I feel like, on the one hand, that much torment, that much ridicule, that much ostracization, of course they're going to jump on the bandwagon of, brutalizing and degrading women, in the sense that, I'm kind of forced to play this role against my will, so I kind of need you to do your part so that I can feel better about myself. And that's how I perceive it playing out throughout history.
Some men, yeah.
Some
men
men
are weak like that. Some men figure it out against all odds.
Some men have, and I'm really glad that you said that, because I completely agree with you. I know so many powerful, strong, independent, respectful, appreciative, courteous men who love women, value them, consider themselves feminists.
Traditional.
Define.
Classical feminism is true feminism. Any current feminism is it's no comment.
Another fad?
There's just no comment. I really want the empowerment of women, so I'm able to look through the fear tactics and the bandwagon that is used to manipulate as of now. And so if you really care about something, you'll look and see past a lot of the movements of today. I'll put it that way.
So define true feminism.
Everybody's equal. It's that simple.
Oh, that is simple.
Yeah.
That lackluster.
Yeah, just don't think about it and just treat care about yourself first, and then you'll treat other people the same way, and then boom. Like, there doesn't have to be like a set or a list or anything or a this or that. It's like, once you do that, you're complicating it and you're making it too chaotic, and then you meet somebody and you expect to check off the box of the interaction, and if they offended this thing that you had entailed that was connected to a trauma, then automatically they're bad, and then all of a sudden you have no friends, and you're wondering why you have no friends and everybody doesn't like you. It's like, because you didn't treat people like you wanted to be treated. Like, what if somebody came up with a list and started judging you the way you are? It just needs to be simple. Don't think about it.
Couldn't agree more.
Here's the white, straight male in the room to tell you about feminism. Thank you. Okay, proceed.
And then you lost it.
I didn't
lose
it.
You broke it.
I have to break it. I like to break what should be broken.
No. You
Yes.
didn't win that one, guy. We'll edit that out too. I you know what, and it's interesting, because when you said true feminism, I was like, oh, what does that mean? I don't know that I've heard what true feminism is, but yeah, that's exactly, and it's interesting because I actually have two friends, who one of them is a very strong, feminist, and I know two guys who, one of them is a very strong feminist, and the other one makes fun of him relentlessly for it. And it's interesting because his perspective after you explaining that is simply treat him the same.
Yeah.
And I don't even, it's interesting because I feel like I'm not even sure that he perceives it that way, but as you said that, that's exactly what it always boils down to. That's always where it's coming from. He's like, treat him the same.
Yeah.
You know, like, ironically, the same guy will get pissed off about, you know, working in a, you know, working for a company that empowers women and it's run by women and women get promoted and women climb the ladder very quickly. And there are still a lot of men there, but, you know, it's kind of harder for men to climb up that exact same ladder. And this is a huge, like, world-renowned company. And he's extremely intelligent. He brings so much to the table. He's worth his weight in gold, hands down.
Yeah.
However, it's been, like, when he was working at this company specifically, it was a huge challenge for him. And he would always gripe and he would always bitch and he would always complain about, you know, this total bullshit. And, like, and in his defense, he would definitely be like, you know, I totally get it. I understand, like, you know, like, if you're really intelligent and you're worthy of the position, absolutely. Who am I to argue with that? He goes, however, all I'm saying is give me a fair shot. So
Equal
what?
means equal.
And
it's like, you gotta understand, if once you say equality, then I'm right for not getting up in the club and standing my ground and wanting to sit when I get a seat. Like, it's equal. I treat you like a bro. And then it's all of a sudden, it's like, oh, wait a second. It's not as cool as I thought it was, because all of a sudden you kind of see the flaws in the...
That's actually a really great story. Tell that story.
No. I just don't like to... When I go to a club or something and it's for a performance and I get into a seat early to watch the performance or go in the back where I can see the DJ and set up, if your girl comes in late and she wants to sit, no. I got that seat for a reason. Don't tell me that she has on heels, because if she has on heels, she's meant to stand up and look good. Don't, like, there's a disconnect. Everybody's equal, right? I get that she put on heels. I didn't put on heels. Not my fault. Like, I don't, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't, that's the equality kind of thing. If you don't want to be treated equal, you want to be treated special, then fine.
I respect that completely.
And again, like, if you want to admit that and say, oh, that hurts my feet, I'll be like, oh, fine. Like, I have empathy, but if we're going to play on this game of equality, then you got to treat men with the same respect as women.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting point, and I haven't heard it explained that way before. I definitely have my gripes with women who sit on the fence. Women who go on about, you know, she's a woman, she's not weak, she's strong, etc. However, when it comes to heavy boxes, when it comes to, you know, like, fixing broken things, when it comes to, you know, getting the car serviced and whatnot, these same women expect the man to rise up and do these things. When they get pissed off, they're able to hit the man, but the man can't hit the woman. I'm like, what is that? What is that exactly? So you're trying to tell me that if you're a woman and a 13-year-old boy walks up to you and punches you in the face, or better yet, a 9-year-old boy walks up to you and punches you in the face, so what are you going to do? Because he's only 9 years old, you can't hit him.
I mean, you can.
But I mean, that's the same argument that a lot of men have with women.
Well, I just... Yeah, there's a lot of things I don't want to get into that one.
You know what? This may be edited out too, because that is a very touchy subject. But
I don't really care if it's touchy though. I mean, it's like women want. Oh God, I don't even. It's just like, I don't really care. Who do I care? Like, whose opinion out there do I care about? Like, the fact is the fact. I've been in the trenches. I've witnessed this. I know how it works. If somebody's gonna say this isn't how it works, cool, good for you. Go home. Like, we're here to give you information to clear things up so that everything is back into harmony. It's not like this is good, this is bad. Like, we're not here to gripe at women. We're
not
here
at all.
to, like...
Not at all.
Like, I was raised by women. I love women probably more than men, unfortunately. I'm
women
still trying to find that
strong.
masculinity. But, like, you can't fix something unless you're told the truth. And I think that men lack that. And I think that's a big part of frustration within male culture, is we are told we can't tell you the truth, and the truth would actually help you, but you don't want to hear the truth because you're told the truth will somehow hurt you. No, you are a strong woman, and you can handle it, and we want the best for you, at least myself in particular.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
you know?
mm-hmm,
And so
absolutely. Absolutely. I you go on these great tangents, and yeah, you're in the moment. And I'm like, oh, that's a really great point. I want to comment on that, and then I'm so caught up in what you're saying that by the time you're done, I forget.
But what in particular? Just go off.
You mentioned, you were raised by women. I have the most powerful women in my life. Girls I went to college with, my mom, my sisters, just really strong. Like, you are not gonna be given an opportunity to even pretend that you can tell me what to do kind of women. In cheerleading, finally a sport, very proud of it. Girls would. I've seen girls get dropped in stunts. I've lost my shit seeing girls get dropped in stunts, and they get the wind knocked out of them. They stand up for a few seconds. They walk around. They take a lot of deep breaths. They wipe their tears. Like, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do it again. Then I've seen men tossing up these women, and the woman on the way down comes down and she happens to accidentally bend his pinky backwards, or, dislocate his thumb. And you joke, but these guys, like, stacked, like, I'm talking swole dudes, will be, you would have thought that she ripped it out of its socket. Like, and, like, it's only hanging by, like, the skin. Like, these guys will punch walls, will kick and scream, will be out, like, it'll be an event. Like, people will have to go get some water, take a break, take about 10 or 15 minutes, and, we're all laughing, but that's exactly how it is. And I feel like a lot of guys get really butthurt over it, but that's on you, bro, because it's the truth. This is what I've seen with my own eyes. I'm not making this stuff up.
I played, like, every single sport. Men get like that. I feel like it's almost like they don't know what to do with that pain, though. And it starts to trigger trauma within, and they're like, oh God, and then that all comes out, and then that's where you get punching the walls and stuff.
And you know what? I love that you said that, because that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Again, women deal with the menstrual cycle.
I'm not saying, yeah.
No, let me finish. Women deal with the menstrual cycle. They're designed to deal with giving birth. Yeah. And I personally can't imagine my stomach lining. Please forgive me if this is not an accurate depiction, but I don't know.
We're gonna wing it here.
I can't imagine my stomach lining tearing and being flushed out of my penis for minimum of a week, once a month. Can't imagine that. Can't imagine what that feels like. I can't imagine the pain involved. Not to mention getting up, taking care of the kids, getting them to school, going to work, being in meetings, and just being a functioning human, going throughout your day, having to do shit. And this is what every single woman does. They fucking deal with that and still go throughout their day-to-day. To me, that's impressive. And again, I'm not saying every single woman, I know I just said that, but within reason, you know what I mean? Like, there are more than enough women who do this every single day, and that's empowering, and that's impressive. So to me, it makes total sense that they have the ability to not only physically endure pain on that level, but they have the insight, they have the intuition, and they have the wisdom to a really great, I'm going to go with it.
Yeah, just go with it.
A really great quote that I heard was, it was actually the first season of Supergirl, which I thought was a really fun season, very tongue-in-cheek. Things that frustrated me about it, but I loved it. It's my favorite season thus far, and I believe it was Calista Flockhart's character. Who said, "You want to know what makes women powerful? We have the depths to face our emotions, knowing that we will come through it to the other side." And I love that. I feel like women, I'd like to say a large enough percentage of women, to say women in general, have the ability to face their emotions. And I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of them have become very smart and very cunning, and they realize that men have the false sense of power in society, and they're able to play games with them, and they're able to, use that to their advantage. I'm not promoting, I'm simply saying that it's a thing.
There's a lot out there. You got to remember, once you realize that, that's a power. With power, you have to have responsibility, and if it's not responsible, you end up destroying a lot of men.
I personally believe it's a woman's world. I believe she has all the power. I believe that she was led to believe that she didn't for a long time. And I believe that a lot of women knew in the moment, and more every single day, that's some straight up bullshit. And
you feel it instinctually. I think everybody does. I think there's an innate fear of a woman that knows her power and doesn't use it responsibly.
You've used the word responsible twice now, and I really like it. My favorite message from Spider-Man, like as a character, and what his entire character is based off of, is with great power comes great responsibility. And I absolutely love that for all obvious reasons, across the board. And I think, we were just talking about how women in, mystical lore are just said to be like, they're just so powerful in contrast to men. And so much more so. And I believe that. I mean, you have the power to give birth. I mean, I sound like a broken record, and I don't mean to be. Like, all joking aside, it's a miraculous thing. And when you exist in that realm and you're able to perform said miracles, it comes with a lot of other attachments. And I don't mean attachments in the pop culture negative sense of the word. I mean it in the literal sense of the word. Like, it comes with other gifts surrounding that. Intuition, wisdom, like I mentioned earlier, and
psychic abilities.
Absolutely, and it's awesome because because science is further proving that now. Like, they're running.
Who cares about science? I just want to say, nobody cares about science. Science has had its time. It's 2021. Nobody cares about science anymore. Everybody's like, oh yeah, that was some misinformation. Like, let's just be real here. Like, I don't even want to mention science in any of these podcasts anymore because it's so antiquated. It's like nobody cares. Like, we have all of the information out now. We have all the printing we have eBay. Just go on, buy Nag Hammadi. Go on, buy the Old Testament, New Testament. Like, all of this information is there.
However, so here's the thing. Your average human, your average American is going to look for buzzwords. And as soon as you start talking about things that they're not comfortable with, they're going to glaze their eyes over. And the way, or rather, they're going to roll their eyes are going to glaze over. And the way that I look at it is this. My goal is to provide information to the masses. And with that said, your average human in said masses is going to be like, well, what does science say? I don't understand. If science doesn't prove it, then I don't believe you, bro. And I'm saying, you know what? As foolish...
You're relating it back to.
Correct. And with that said, science is finally catching up. But I also feel like we can go even a step further because, like I said before, what's perceived as magic is simply science that hasn't been understood yet. I can't coin the phrase. I hear it all the time. In Hollywood, granted it's Hollywood, but I believe really good cinema is rooted in truth. So take that as you will. With that said, science is supporting it. Science is supporting intuition. Science is
being forced to adopt these facts. Science doesn't want to tell you these facts until it's forced at gunpoint. And then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, I guess we admit this. That's how science works. Just more rant, but continue.
Again, I believe it's valid because a lot of you need to hear that. A lot of you need to be able to quickly Google, etc., and make peace with that. But with that said, yeah, science, who is quote unquote the leader in all things knowledge, is finally, I'll say, catching up. Jordan clearly says is finally being forced to admit it. And here we are. I mentioned Da Vinci earlier, Da Vinci's Demons, and I'm watching the first episode, and within the first 2 minutes, I see breasts. In the first 2 minutes.
Chicken?
What I... Say again?
Chicken from Hot Days?
I'm talking about, like, breasts attached to a woman. Nude. With nipples.
I mean, that's cool, but the Dave saw chicken, bro. With that sauce?
And... this fucking guy. And what I respected about it, because at first I was like, Jesus Christ, here we go. Like, why is there this consistent objectification? It's awful.
I feel that, yeah.
However, I will also say, about a minute after that, I also saw Dick and Balls. So I actually had a lot of respect for the series in that regard, because I was like, oh, of course I did. Of course I did. I think
Continue.
I think that is an
This is the most like
I
quotable part that you've ever had in any podcast. Continue.
I firmly believe that if you're going to plaster breasts all over a TV series, there is absolutely no need that you can't plaster Dick and Balls as well. At least level the playing field, because that's what we're talking about this entire episode anyway, which is quality.
But why either?
I mean, I think artistically it can be done very tastefully. There's one movie on Prime. What is it called? It's called. I believe it's called You and Me, and it is, and I believe there's nudity throughout the entire film, like full frontal. And I'd say there's probably like a good 5 minutes worth of film of simple nudity, and only like a minute of it is sexual, not even. It's probably closer to like 15-20 seconds. And the rest of it, it's just, to be honest, it's very playful, it's very tongue-in-cheek, it's very silly, and it just happened to be they're in a lake, and there's expensive camera equipment going on, and one of them wants him to join him going swimming, and he's being uptight and obnoxious and over the top, and so he grabs a bucket of water and he comes out of the lake, and he, it's like they're just being like they're being friends, they're being playful, and I thought it was very tastefully done. Why are you laughing?
Continue.
So, I think it can be done artistically, and if you're going to have one, at least be able to have the other.
Equality.
It's that simple.
Yes.
How
simple.
How do we want to wrap this up?
Just zip tie it and throw it in the trunk.
I think I'm excited to see a world where women, honestly, I'm excited to see a world where women are respected. They're revered. They're honored. As long as they're honoring themselves. It can't be this blanket, oh, she's a woman, etc. No. If a man doesn't respect himself, how exactly am I supposed to respect him? In the same token, if a woman can't respect herself, how exactly am I supposed to respect her? You decide who you are. You decide how you're treated. When you have boundaries and you live within said boundaries, if you don't expect anyone to approach you a certain way, or treat you a certain way, or interact or disrespect you a certain way, don't leave it easy for them. You want to be honored, you want to be respected, you want to be cherished and treasured, act precious. You can act powerful. Let's talk about Diamonds. There's a really awesome character in X-Men. Part of her power is that she can turn her entire skin into diamond. And we all know that diamonds are really difficult to break. You need to hit it in one specific spot. My point being, you can be strong, you can be powerful, but you can be elegant, you can be graceful, you can be a woman. And honestly, I like a woman with a little bit of grit. I like a woman with a lot of grit. All of my girlfriends from college, they're the best because they're beautiful. They're so headstrong. They're confident. They're fierce, and they back it all up. And they love dressing in heels. They love putting makeup on. They love taking pride in their appearance and walking out on a night on the town and just looking good and feeling powerful. But these are the exact same women who on a Sunday will have on their husband's shorts or their husband's sweatpants or no makeup on, watching a game, yelling at the TV. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a woman to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the
like
kind
that
of...
second half. Second half's chill. Maybe not yelling at the TV, but like caressing it with their words.
I like
a little graceful.
No. You can throw some F-bombs there. Hell yeah.
I didn't say anything bad. I'm a young Christian boy.
So I'm excited to live in a world where your average woman isn't objectified. She isn't answering the question of how young were you when you were objectified for the first time, and it's not some horrifying age like 4 years old.
That's crazy.
Excuse me. I'm excited to meet women I'm excited for your average woman in our culture to not be afraid to walk alone at night down the street. I'm excited to see your average woman, or I'm excited to see the number of women who have been attacked or, accosted sexually in some way go down significantly. I'm excited to see women respected as women, and for it to be easy because these women respect themselves as women, because there aren't these holes that society's created where they have to climb out of. And I'm not saying society as a blanket statement. I'm like, men, I think it is disgusting when a guy has absolutely no problem catcalling a woman. I've bitched out my friends, I've bitched out my cousins. It is gross. It is absolutely gross. Oh, you don't think so? Okay, cool. So for every single guy who has no problem calling out a woman, how about a gay guy twice your size does that to you?
This happened in Hillcrest.
To you?
Oh my God! Every time I'm at Hillcrest, yeah.
Okay.
But it's a reflection of the person saying it.
Exactly.
You know? And it's,
exactly.
I mean, I think as a woman you're more fearful though, because I don't have any perspective of that. But just the weird feeling you get from, getting catcalled. And like, dudes, like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
How is that? That does nothing except make you look like a little beta bitch. That's it.
Shots fired.
I have
Shots
plenty
fired.
more shots in the barrel.
Absolutely.
Please come
Absolutely.
here. I'm bored.
And for those of you to go ahead and argue it and say whatever foolish thing you're about to say, you're cool with your mom being treated that way.
Probably. What I've noticed is that's what a lot of that comes down to. Is they have mommy issues. Their mom was not a well-respected woman. So she didn't respect herself, so the boy kind of grew up assuming that women are to be treated as their mom treated herself, and it's a cyclical pattern, but nobody wins. I mean, again, everybody's losing in that situation.
Sorry, I was just appreciating.
Yeah, well, I've been in the trenches. I've talked to people. I've done the understanding and the background and psychology of this, and that's how it works. Again, to our first episode, if it does air, the ancestral karma, all of the behavioral patterns trickle down from the parent onto the kids. So you have to understand those men that are saying that, maybe that they're catcalling to disgrace you, because they don't like their mom, they hate their mom, and so it's kind of a...
Well, as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly what it is.
Well, yeah.
You would never... Well,
yeah.
this isn't directed towards you. But that's exactly what it is. You can't tell me that you have respect for women, but have no problem catcalling them. Have no problem referring to them as chicken heads. Have no problem referring to them...
Somebody said that?
Chicken heads was the thing.
What does that even mean? Like they're dumb? Women are dumb?
No, we'll talk about it off camera. It's extremely awful.
I don't even want to know.
But there's that term. There's referring to women as thoughts. Like, come on, dude. Fuck pop culture. If it's not cool, it's not cool. And somewhere along the way, it was cool to be an asshole. It was cool to be disrespectful. It was trendy to be a dick. And I'm not with it. Believe it or not, I actually tried it once. I was getting so fucking ridiculed. I was getting so ostracized. I was getting so disrespected on a regular basis. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should be a dick just like everybody else. Gave it a shot. Hated it. Hated it. Hated it. I felt awful. It didn't make me feel better to be awful to people simply because people have been awful to me. It didn't make me feel better to make fun of someone. Like I don't get any joy out of it. And I was actually working at my last restaurant. One of my coworkers, it was really interesting because I think it was like the second or third time we worked together because we had like a sister restaurant, and he was covering a shift one night, and he was saying something, and finally he was like, "Come on, Carlo, talk shit," and I was like, "Oh, no, I'm not gonna talk shit. I don't." It does like again. It does. I don't feel any better disrespecting someone. The end. There's no good to come out of it. They feel like shit. That's trauma. They're triggered. And if they already have low self-esteem, that's only going to confirm that for them. And if they don't have low self-esteem, then it could be shitty. I mean, don't get me wrong. They could be incredibly powerful and be like, well, you're an asshole, huh? Fresh
I
prick.
don't even it's not even about the other person. I think it's about if you're... The way you interact with your external world is directly linked to how you will be treated. So the way you treat outside, look at life like a mirror, and whatever you throw at the mirror is going to come right back at you. So
Yep.
think about that. Think about that when you do anything, like catcalling, like that's none of that's going to do anything except hurt you. So you need to think selfishly with that. And if you're not, then you're going to end up even in a worse situation. People are tricking you into that negative cycle, and then you end up wanting to be negative, but that just hurts you because they're trying to put their hurt onto you. And if you fall for that, now you know. That's all I gotta say. Like, there's not much more. But
I mean, that's all I gotta
somebody
say. Because that's where
in
I
that
was going
position
with it.
is not. They're not understanding the selfish aspect of not participating in the behavior. They're just thinking, oh, I'm throwing that negativity on somebody else and now I don't have it. No, you're throwing it at a mirror and it's bouncing right back at you even worse. So, like, what are you doing? That's all. I'll go back to playing my game.
I couldn't agree more. Once again, he finished the thought. Again, I'm excited.
Finish that thought.
I'm excited. Proper use of the word thought, as far as I'm concerned.
I wasn't,
That wasn't directed towards you. I am really excited to live in a culture where women are, again, respected. And the respect starts with them.
It just starts with everybody figuring this out. Everybody just stopping the cycle.
We covered that.
I'm covering it again because it was naked in the intro of whatever episode you watched. There should be no nudity. This is a Christian channel.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you having us once again. We're excited to join you next week. And
What are we covering?
haven't decided yet.
It's a mystery. The mystery episode. Stay tuned.
I just decided. Sex. Have a great week, guys.
Ah! What is that? What is, like the gender of a child?
No, how to create children.
It's like storks.
Yeah, pretty much.